Please start.
Good afternoon, everyone. I, Janvi Anand, welcome you all to the CV Writing Workshop organized by OSS DMS HR Club in collaboration with DMS Placement Cell. Today, we have Professor Dr. Ravikant Swami Sir, Director, Delhi Metropolitan Education, to address the students and guide them to build an industry-focused and an effective CV. Sir has over 24 years of experience in teaching and administration and holds a PhD degree from University of Rajasthan, Jaipur. We are also joined by Professor Dr. Purva Ranjan Ma'am, Head DME Management School, and along with Dr. Pooja Sharma Ma'am, TPO, DMS, and Dr. Seema Ma'am and Dr. Pooja Tripathi Ma'am. Before Sir starts, I would like to request Purva Ranjan Ma'am to say a few words.
Thank you, Janvi. I am very honored that Director Sir was able to take out time for our students because he keeps really busy, and taking 1 hour out dedicated with no interruption for students means a lot to us. So thanks a lot, sir. And we will be taking your help more often whenever we need your guidance. So this is just the start for the session. And for the students, I would like to say that your CV is your first impression to the corporates. Because you can't meet them personally, we send your CVs and they shortlist looking at your CV. That means despite the fact you may be excellent in your education, your degree, everything, and if your CV doesn't speak volumes about your credentials, you face a chance of getting rejected or not filtered for the next step. That means what we are going to learn today with the help of Sir is your most crucial and the first step of your journey towards getting placed. Hence, I request you that you use your writing material, take down notes. We will also share the recording of this session to you, because the immediate next phase that we are going to move into is submission of your CVs and checking of the CVs, fine-tuning them to make it at par with the industry requirements. And DMS OSS, that is the HR Club, will be constantly helping you out in fine-tuning all these skills, right from the CV building to facing the interview, handling the written and the verbal communication skills, to ensure that all of you are well placed, whether it is internship or your final placement. So handing over the forum to our resource person of the day, Dr. Ravikant Swami, sir.
Okay, so I congratulate the management department for such a beautiful coining of name. I know Dr. Purva is an expert when it comes to coining names, because oasis means a place in a desert where you find water or where plants grow. So, and I have seen many oases because I belong to Rajasthan. So that's a very beautiful coining of the name for this HR club. Now I'll start by sharing my screen. So students, we'll start with the jargon, because these are the 3 terms which we often use, and we use them interchangeably or synonymously. So we'll begin by understanding the difference between these 3 terms: biodata, curriculum vitae, and a resume. Now see, of course, there is a difference. If there are 3 terms, it means there is a difference. The difference is little, and that is why we use them interchangeably. That is true. But then there is a difference, and we'll begin by understanding the difference before going ahead. So biodata, let us go into the literal meaning. Bio means what? Bio means biology. So it is the original term. Original term means initially, people used to apply for what? Say you go to the old days, and people used to apply for army and all those places, wherein what was important? What was important was your biological features. Biological feature means your height, your chest, your breadth, or all those things were important. So while we talk about biodata, it is the original word which depicts your biological features. Yes, even today, if you are applying for police or CRPF or CISF, then you can call it biodata, because therein what is important is that you should not have a specs, right? So this simply means that your biology should be like eyes should be 6x6. So that is the original term biodata, which describes your biology. Now, I'll not say it is an outdated term for two reasons. First, there are places where you can still apply and your biology is important, like police or defense forces or things like that. Second, while you, I'm sure you have not gone through that page where you find that marriage proposals in the newspaper, right? So while you see that, you must have seen fair color, so and so height. So that is a place where still biodata is relevant. So at these two places, biodata is still relevant. So we cannot say that this word is outdated. But then I'll conclude how these three terms are used in, and at which places they are used. Second is curriculum vitae. Now, what is your curriculum in BBA? 5 subjects in semester 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's a curriculum. The plural is curricula. And vitae means vital. So the important parts of your curriculum, while we put them on a piece of paper, rather than calling it biodata, we call it curriculum vitae, right? Then resume is something like while your HOD will apply somewhere, means well, while your HOD will prepare her details, what is important is not what is her biology. What is important is not what she studied, which were her papers at MBA. What is important is her research articles, her experience, the responsibilities handled. That thing we call resume. So I can say that at your stage, the correct word is CV or curriculum vitae. So that is why the name of the program is preparing a CV, right? So this is how we begin. Now let us move further. Well, while preparing a CV, these are the do's and don'ts. First thing, try to remember, you can always drive any interview in the direction you want. What am I saying? Yes, while you put any information before the interviewer, in fact, you are driving your interview. Because like we have been in interview panels since say decades, and I can tell you the person who is taking the interview has generally not gone through your CV. So he is also thinking ki kya puchna hai, right? And how he is going to ask the questions? He'll look at your CV and he'll go by that sequence. So whatever you are writing in your CV will give rise to questions. If I am writing a good chess player, the question is going to come about chess. If I write my hobbies, reading books, the other person is going to ask you, tell me which novel you have read recently. So therefore, the second thing which you must remember is that you can always drive the interview in the direction you want, because the person who is taking the interview he is actually unprepared. Say, for example, I have to take 10 interviews in a day. Means I can't tell you a lie, but I should be very honest and tell you there is zero probability that I have gone through all those 10 CVs entirely. Even if I have gone through them, that is a cursory kind of reading. So therefore, the way in which you are going to sequence information in your CV is the way you are driving your interview. We are going to talk about this in little detail, right? Therefore, what should be the sequence of information? It should be in descending order of importance. Means what? Important things first, less important things later. Why? Because the person will read your CV and he'll start asking questions. So whatever will come first will lead to questions first. So therefore, keep this thing in mind. And yes, honesty is the best policy, because there is a big misconception that you can write anything in the CV and wriggle out of the situation. Mind it, the person who is taking your interview, that is a person who is at least a decade more experienced than you. You'll not believe, but I can tell you many examples wherein I was in the panel, Dr. Purva was in the panel, people tried to lie and they were caught, I can use the word red-handed. I would not like to quote an examples. Dr. Purva is smiling because recently it happened that a person tried to lie and within a second that person could be caught. So therefore, while writing a CV, don't try to bluff. Don't try to make it flowery by saying, I do this, I do that. You'll be caught there. So honesty is the best policy. And the last tip is that a picture speaks more than 1,000 words. Means, say, if I'm presenting my academic information, I can write it in sentences. But the better thing is I make a simple table and I put things across. So that will be a better presentation. If I have, I'll show you some tables today. So if I have worked in 5 organizations, I should present it in a tabular form. That is always more presentable, easy to read, easy to understand. Because remember one thing, you are driving the questions which are going to be asked to you, right? Okay, so that was the background. Now, what should be the first thing in a CV? The first thing, obviously, if I am reading your CV, the first thing is your name, contact details. That is another important thing. Why? Because, say for example, I find that, okay, this CV is good. Then what will be my next step? My next step will be, I'm going to communicate with you. The contact details should be correct. Mind it, I can tell you, there are so many cases where we call a person and the number is switched off or it is not reachable, or sometimes there's a very odd message, recharge nahi hua hai. So it happens. So such things should not happen. Therefore, whenever you are giving your contact details, always go for 2 phone numbers. One is yours, another is of a person who will readily pick up the phone and give you the message. Because sometimes, like, I may be traveling and I may be out of coverage. So then in that case, the best thing is always put in 2 numbers. And I can tell you, while calling people, we invariably, we call on the first number, we cannot communicate, we immediately switch to the second number. So take care of this. Then, so these are the things which will come first, your name, contact details. Now, contact details means phone, and these days, obviously, your email ID is an important contact detail. When it comes to email ID, I can tell you, I have seen so many email IDs, smartygirl@gmail.com. So, or jartboy@rediffmail.com. I think this is something very unprofessional. You may have created your email ID while you were in your 9th or 10th class and you were very enthusiastic and you did it like that. But then while applying and while putting that in the CV, such IDs are something which, which are not considered to be good, right? So the email ID should be very simple. The best thing is that I write my name, say Rajesh Kumar, and then of course Rajesh Kumar is a common name, so I'm not going to get that ID. So put your year of birth. That is a very normal nomenclature. Don't put like something like 667788. No, that is also not very professional. So your name, year of birth, that's very simple. Okay. So that is about the email ID. Alternate number I just now talked about. Then residential address should be in the beginning or in the end. That is another question. Well, these days the trend has changed, and these email IDs, these phone numbers, these have become much more than your residential address. If I'm taking an interview, I don't, it does not matter much to me, you belong to which place. What matters to me is your name, your contact details. So these days the trend has changed, and the personal details, these things come at the end, right? Earlier, I remember that personal details used to be in the beginning, but now they are in the end. And in the end, there's a column called personal detail, which we are going to discuss in the end of today's discussion. So this is how you start writing your CV. First thing is your proper contact details. To conclude this slide, phone number, alternate phone number, then a proper professional email ID. That's the first thing. Okay, let us move ahead. Next is we write our objective. Now, while writing objective, I have seen that objectives, people try to touch the sky and they write that, like, I want to bring profits to the organization, or I want to become CEO of an organization. I don't think these are practical objectives. Look, why the organization is hiring you. You have to relate that thing with the objective which you are mentioning in your CV. Why the organization is hiring you? Simply because there is a task, there is a responsibility which the organization wants to get fulfilled through you. So therefore, try to link that with your skill set. So a normal objective can be, I want to contribute to any organization with the best of my skills, knowledge, and attitude. Something like that should be simplistic and should be reasonable, should be feasible. Don't write things which are, which I'll say like, which are very high in nature, because such things, such things they do not count much. Means if I'm writing that, say, I want to contribute greatly to an organization, what great a person can do, means these are words which are, should not be used while writing your objectives. So the objective should be very simple. I want to contribute to the organization with the best of my knowledge, skills, and attitude. Something like this can be very feasible, very practical. So this is the second thing. Initially, we talked about your contact details, then the objective. Now, what will come next? As I told you, information should be in descending order, means important things first. So for a BBA, what comes first? Tell me. Is your 10th or 11th or 12th should come first? Or your BBA score should come first? Or your internship should come first? Or your project should come first? What should come first? I believe that the interviewer is more interested in knowing about how you can contribute to his or her organization, and therefore your internships, your projects is the first thing which you should mention in your CV. Before that, I missed one point. This is another question which is asked, whether a photo should be there in your CV or not. My dear students, there are two schools of thought. One school of thought says that photo is not needed because a photo may create some kind of bias in the person who's reading your CV. Another school of thought says that photo should be there. If I am to give an opinion out of these two schools of thought, I believe that photo should be there. And obviously, it should not be a photo in a garden or a photo on a bicycle, right? It should be a professional photo. And when I say professional, obviously, if I am putting on a blazer or a tie, my photo will be much better. So, in my opinion, photo should always be there in your CV, and that is at the right-hand corner in your CV. Now, putting the information, as I said, descending order. So what should come first? Not your scores in 10th or 11th, not your scores in BBA, not the subjects which you have read. Because, mind it, you are driving the interview. So therefore, whatever you are going to write first is going to raise questions first. So therefore, what should come first is your internships, your trainings, your project, your dissertation. All these things should, these are the things which are more relevant for a corporate personality. Say, for example, you did an internship in Dabur India, and it's a FMCG company. Then that person will automatically think that, oh, he seems to be a useful candidate. He has already worked in a company which is in FMCG. So these are the things which should be mentioned first. So I believe these are the students, Dr. Pooja, from which semester? All the semesters or final year?
Second year and third year.
Okay, so third year students have done their internships. So you should beautifully mention your internship. You should mention the name of the organization, the topic on which you submitted your report. All those things should be there. And mind it, whatever you are going to write is going to raise questions. So write it in such a manner that the person is forced to ask questions from that internship. And the best policy is take your internship report with you. If it is not an online, if it is an offline interview, take your internship report, take your dissertation report with you, put it on the table, and mind it, your interview is going to start with that and close with that. But then that happens only when you have done your internship and dissertations very seriously, right? So what you are going to mention first in your CV, your contact details, then your photograph, then your objective, and then internships, trainings, projects, dissertation. Having talked about internship, the next thing is project. What is a project? Project can be like any assignment. In marketing, an assignment may be given to you that say you go to some medical shops and find out how the customers are using the blood pressure pills or something like that. Can be a small assignment. If you have done it, you mention it in your CV, and mind it, you are going to get questions from that. So therefore, the next thing is projects. And in BBA, yes, at least one project per semester everyone should do. It may be a very small project, but then you should do it. And not only you should do it, you should mention it in your CV also. And then what will come here is the dissertation. Dissertation is something which you are going to do now. Those who are in 5th semester and those who are in the previous semesters, you are going to do it soon. So dissertation, why your teachers keep on telling you that dissertation is important for you? Because it is the hands-on training, it is the practical training, and you put your dissertation on the table, your interview will be from that dissertation. So do it seriously and be prepared to answer questions on that. Your interview is done, right? Now comes the now comes the next information, which is less important. What is that? This was about the template. I was saying that a picture speaks more than 1,000 words. So while you are talking about your experience means your internships, your projects, or dissertations, you try to put it in a tabular form. And it's very clear. A tabular form is always more lucid, more vivid. So you put it in a tabular form, and then next comes your qualifications. Again, as I said, tabular form is better. So while writing your qualifications, you'll be writing about your 10th, about your 12th, and then BBA. Now in BBA, you can't put it in one shot that BBA aggregate till 5 semesters is so and so. No. Why? Because you want questions to come out from that. So therefore, write semester wise. Write semester 1, these were the subjects, this was the percentage. So that the person is very clear that these are the subjects which the student has studied, and so that the person can ask questions on you. If you are writing organizational behavior, then that person may ask you, okay, tell me what are the stages in Maslow's need hierarchy, or what is Mintzberg theory. These questions will come up only when you are writing organizational behavior in your CV. If you are simply writing semester 1, so and so is the percentage, the question is not going to come. So write the subjects, because a BBA does not have much to mention in the CV. So therefore, write the subjects so that you get questions. You write, I have studied MIS. So make a tabular form, 10th, 12th, and then 5 semesters. So there are 7 rows in that table, and that gives a good look to the CV. Okay. So just to recap, first thing in the CV, contact details, objective, photograph, your hands-on trainings, projects in a tabular form, then your academic qualifications, and obviously that too in a tabular form. And this is a very simple format which I am providing to you: class or degree, then board or university, year of passing, percentage, and add the subjects, right? Well, achievements is something which everyone has, and everyone thinks that he does not have any achievements, right? It's a normal, normal perception. But then I'm sure anyone on this earth has achieved something or the other at some point in time. Maybe in your gully or mohalla there was a tournament and you did very well in that. That is also an achievement. Achievement doesn't mean that I have to play Ranji. That doesn't mean that I have to play for India. Achievement can be at the gully or mohalla level also. Na? Mention that in your CV. You write, there was a badminton tournament on Holi or Diwali and I won that. Why? Because this is going to give rise to questions. So whatever achievements you have, say for example, if you ask me, I remember I was in an organization in Himachal, and there was a faculty race, and I got a medal in that, and mind it, I mentioned it in my CV. Why? Because I feel proud about that, and that is something which gives a feeling that this person has got an athletic touch. So therefore, whatever little or large achievements you have, all those should be mentioned in your CV, and don't feel shy about those achievements. Don't feel shy that my achievement is small, I should not mention. No, don't feel like that. You please mention your achievements, big or small, that is a different issue, right? So at your level, you may have won a debate competition, you may have won a athletic competition, or even you may have, say, while talking about this club in Oasis, you may have participated in some competition, and you can simply write that I participated in that. Winning is not the only thing. Participation is more important. So if you have participated in a debate competition, that is also your achievement. So take it like that, and your achievements column is going to be there. Don't skip this column. Okay. Moving ahead. This is probably the second last part of the CV, the SWOT. It's very easy to find out your strengths and to express them, but I'll tell you there's a catch. But it's very difficult to mention your weaknesses. But I'll discuss a little in detail on this, and I'll tell you how to write that. So SWOT is something which, again, at your level, can bring out questions, can help you a lot if you write it properly. And mind it, honesty is the best policy. So we have been taking interviews of class 12 students since the past 2 months. And whenever I ask them, what is your strength? So generally the answer is that I'm very honest, I'm very hardworking. So then the point is that you have to give some evidence. The interviewer will ask you, if you are saying I'm hardworking, then the interviewer will ask you that what makes you feel that you are hardworking. So you have to give some instance. You have to give some example which proves that you are hardworking. Maybe that in your garden, you worked hard and the garden had many flowers. So you have to give any such evidence. Then only you should write your strength. Otherwise, again, as I said, bluffing is something which will always land you in a problem. So if my marks are 65% and I say, if my marks in mathematics are say 70%, and I mention in my strength that my mathematics is great, that is something which will land me in a problem. So therefore, while writing your strengths, you have to be very cautious, and you need not try to bluff. So be realistic, and you say that like you can say that I've got good leadership skills. For a BBA, such things, they sound good. I have good leadership skills. So the person will definitely ask you, what makes you feel that you have got good leadership skills? So then you can give an example that, okay, there was a program which was being organized by our so-and-so club, And in that, I took the lead. I was convener of the program, and that program was appreciated well. So this is something which can show that leadership skills is your strength. Something like this you have to mention, but whatever you mention, there should be some evidence, some anecdote to prove that you really have that strength. Coming to weakness, well, I find people who say that they don't have any weakness, and I tell them, weakness to Bhagwan mein bhi hoti hai. Everyone has watched Ramayana and Mahabharata. So therefore, if you feel that you don't have any weakness, that is absolutely something which is not acceptable. But then, while mentioning weakness, what you are supposed to write? You are supposed to write something which you are really trying to improve. Say, for example, I can say that my weakness is that I feel nervous whenever I have to do some public speaking. Yes, that is a very natural weakness which I can tell you every great leader even possesses. It's not that everyone is very comfortable while speaking in public. People generally have this weakness that if I'm an introvert, if I have a little shy nature, then public speaking is something which is bound to be my weakness. So you mentioned that I feel nervous when I'm supposed to give a presentation. I feel nervous when I am supposed to do some public speaking. But then here's a catch. In case you say that you feel nervous when you have to make a public speech, then the other person will say that, but then I'll not hire you because my job profile demands that you have to meet people and you have to address people. So here's the catch. So now you should be prepared with something that I have this weakness, but I am doing A, B, C, D to improve upon this weakness. So this is how you are going to handle your SWOT. Then talking about opportunities. Yes, for a BBA, I can tell you there are great opportunities and there are reasons for that. You can always relate your opportunities with the processes of LPG which are happening in our country. I can tell you, my dear friends, that after 1991, after liberalization, privatization, globalization, you need not go to Canada or New Zealand or Australia or UK for settling down. India is a land of opportunities. Yes, and especially for people who are doing business-oriented courses like BBA, yes, lot of opportunities are there. So you can say that the opening up of the markets, the shrinking of the public sector, these are all opportunities for me. Say in the post-COVID era, you can say that the digitization is an opportunity for me. But then while you say digitization is an opportunity, you should also mention that your strength is that you are good in digital activities. You have to link up all these things like this. Otherwise, there will be something like locking. There will be a contradiction between these things. So you have to see that all these four things are in tandem with each other. There is a synchronization. If your strength is that you are good with digital marketing, then an opportunity can be, that the way the world is being digitized is an opportunity for you. And the last thing is threats. Well, threats again have to be linked with weaknesses. You can say that, say if your weakness is something like fear of public speaking, you can say that I feel threatened by people who, like my colleagues who have got very good public speaking or something like that. But then, mind it, weaknesses and threats, be prepared with something which is of the corrective way. You have to tell, if A is my weakness, B I am doing to improve upon my weakness. If X is a threat, Y is something which I am doing to counter that threat. You have to prepare with such things, right? So SWOT is something which people may like to skip in their CV at your stage, but I can tell you, if you are mentioning it, you are going to get good number of questions on that, and you are always driving your interview. So if you want to drive your interview towards SWOT, you mention SWOT. If you don't want to drive, then you skip SWOT. It is something like that. Okay. Now we are moving towards the last part of your CV. I'll just recap that once we are done with the last part. This is something which comes in the end, which I said initially. I remember the days when these things were written at the top of the CV, but these days, name, photo, phone number, email, that's all. Remaining things are going to come in the end. You belong to Agra or Aligarh, that is something which should come in the end. So therefore, what we call personal details is the last column in your CV. In that, of course, Aadhaar is everyone's introduction these days. Then father's name and occupation, mother's name and occupation. Yes, people are interested in knowing what is your family background. So your employer is definitely interested in knowing about your family background, because family background is something which speaks about how stable a candidate will be, how good a candidate will be. So there are certain things which the family background tells about a candidate. So these are the things, but then they come after your introduction. They should not come in the beginning. Means first I'm interested in the candidate, then I'm interested in his family, then I'm interested in the place to which he belongs to, right? So your Aadhaar number, your father's name and occupation, mother's name and occupation, then about your siblings, if your grandparents. Yes, I would like to mention that my grandfather was a freedom fighter. All these things, they carry weightage. So, and then your hobbies, obviously. These are the things, and hobbies again is a very catchy thing. Generally, people write reading books, and I am telling you, it's a very difficult hobby to mention. The moment you write reading books, the question is going to come, what kind of books would you like to read? And I say, I like reading novels. And then the question is, okay, tell me the last novel which you have read. And then I am blank, which means that, my hobby is not what I have written. So be honest about your hobbies. If I like listening to Punjabi songs, I can always write that I like listening to Punjabi songs. I should not write that, I like listening to classical songs while my actual hobby is listening to Punjabi songs. So please don't do like that, because each thing which you are mentioning in your CV is something which is giving rise to questions, because the interviewer is searching for questions, and he is searching for questions by reading your CV only, right? I think now we have come to the end. I'll just give a recap of whatever we have done today. So we talked about the difference, biodata, the biological parameters, not a relevant term for a BBA, but something relevant for while you are going for your marriage proposals or defense forces, जिनको हम बोलते हैं belt वाली नौकरी, right? Its biodata is relevant. Curriculum vitae, vital parts of your curricula. This is something, the correct term which we are going to use at your stage. Resume is something little more detailed, which Dr. Seema Ma'am or Dr. Pooja or Dr. Purva or I may be using. Then these are the do's and don'ts. And the most important thing in this slide is, mind it, you are driving your interview, not the other person, right? Then what is going to come first is your contact details, then your objective. Be simplistic, be feasible. Photo, my answer is yes, the photo should be there. Then the next thing will be regarding your hands-on experiences, which are your internships, projects, dissertation. Put it in a tabular form, it will give you an advantage. Then your academic qualifications, tabular form. In BBA, write about your subjects, because subjects will give rise to questions. Again, tabular form, I definitely propose. Achievements, you shed away the feeling that I don't have any achievements. Everyone has got an achievement, I can tell you. Then SWOT, very, very catchy thing. There should be a sync between all these four things. especially weaknesses, threats. There should be an interconnect, strengths and opportunities. There should be an interconnect. And while writing that, again, be realistic, be practical, and assume that questions are going to come and the person is going to ask you, you prove that you have this kind of strength. You prove that this kind of weakness is there. And then in the end, the personal details, which again are important. It's, although, you know, it's last but not the least. Personal details are coming in the last, but they are important because hobbies is again something very, very catchy. Dr. Purva can tell you how hobbies have been a very catchy thing. People they have got caught in their hobbies. So again, be realistic. Whatever is my hobby is my hobby. I need not fake my hobby, right? That's all for today. Next time we can meet next time while your CV is prepared based on this, and we can check your CVs next. Now I think we can take up questions.
So students, if you have questions,
I
you
have
can-
question while we are collecting more questions from the students. All students who are currently studying internship or all these things, they come more or less in the same level. So what things that they should add to differentiate their CV from the rest of the class? What new they should do that can be added into the CV?
Yes, students, what new is what additional you are doing. Say, for example, like this club is the best example. If a workshop is being organized by Oasis, this is something additional, which probably, you know, as I said, the Oasis name itself is something which is very catchy. So if you are into some activity which is conducted by Oasis or any club or maybe the literary club, these are the additional things. For a management student, yes, HR club, marketing club, finance club, these things are something, you know, which are additional. And ma'am, while we talk about additional things, I think mentioning your hands-on experience in a very lucid manner is something which generally people hide. People say summer internship, July 2020, that's all. People hide the organization, people hide the title of the project. So this is something, you know, which can always lead to questions. So you write so and so organization, so and so project, and if anything additional is there, you write that. So that will always give rise to questions. Mind it, the interviewer is most interested in your hands-on experience. While appearing for an interview, say for example, Amazon comes to DME for an interview. Everyone whom they are interviewing is an BBA. Everyone has got a good percentage. What will differentiate is one has done internship in Ceasefire, another has done in, say, FMCG sector, another has done in say, petrochemical sector. These are the things which differentiate one from the other. So to conclude this answer, whatever you are doing additionally in the forms of clubs, etc., and then your hands-on experience, highlighting that is something which can differentiate. Everyone is an BBA, but it's not that everyone has done a training at Ceasefire or at Dabur. You know, these things are the differentiating factors. Dr. Purva, you can add on to this.
Yeah, sir. I would recommend doing some certifications and training programs, which kind of enhances and sets you apart. Then if everybody is doing summer training, you do winter training also. If everybody is doing one training, you can do 2 trainings. So this is how probably you can set your CV, your candidature apart from the crowd, you know, which is around you. Because the employer will look for the unique aspects in your CV.
Yeah,
so that's probably one thing.
Say Excel is a very good example for BBAs. You know, in every organization, you would be needing Microsoft Word, PPT, Excel. These are the basics for a management professional. So if you do a Microsoft course on Excel and it is a certified course, I am telling you, it is definitely going to make you stand out of the crowd. These are you know, small things which make you stand out of the crowd. But then again, if I have done a course in Excel and I'm mentioning in my CV, it should be properly certified. So certificates are definitely something which make you stand out of the crowd. Yeah, Dr. Purva, I fully agree with you.
Sir, Gurneet Singh is asking one question via chat. If we can unmute him, he can ask directly also.
Yeah.
Can he be unmuted?
Ma'am, I have allowed the rights for the unmuting. So, yes, ma'am, what is the name of the student?
Gurneet.
Gurneet, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Sir, I want to ask that, sir, do we also have to mention our positive weakness in our CVs?
Positive weakness.
Yes, sir.
Well, that happens that, say, for example, a person is saying that my weakness is that I am never satisfied with my task. You know, in a way, you are giving a positive weakness that you are saying that you are a perfectionist like Amir Khan. So that is another way that you can always you can smartly put your weaknesses in such a way that it is written in the weakness column, but you can present it in a way that it sounds like a strength. So yes, Gurneet, that's a very nice way of writing weaknesses, because I'm sure if someone will write the actual weaknesses, it's very difficult to handle. So
Thank you, sir.
that is Gurneet, the correct way to write that what you are writing is a weakness which you can answer in a positive way. That I'm not satisfied with whatever I do means I'm a perfectionist. So something like that is the correct way, because weaknesses is something which is very, very catchy.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Pooja ma'am, please unmute Naved. Naved has a question that he would like to put up to sir.
Naved,
And rest of you can also raise your hand. We will unmute you. It is a good opportunity to solve your doubts directly in the session.
Okay, so I was not knowing that Naved has come from FM. Huh?
I keep teasing him. Naved ki Delhi mein bahut pani baras raha hai. So I keep teasing him in my class all the time.
Okay.
So Naved, you can please unmute.
Yes, sir. So how we can build the confidence during interviews? Because I feel very nervous.
Confidence during interviews. Okay, so that's something which, you know, it's very difficult to answer, because, you know, building confidence is something which comes only with hard work. Huh? I can tell you there is no shortcut to hard work in life. But then when I say that, it sounds like a pravachan. So, you know, building confidence, yes, to answer your question, one thing is that recently we have spoken a lot on Hindi Divas, but I can tell you, Matra Bhasha is fine, but English is no more the language of Britishers. It's an international link language. So for management professional, spoken English fluency is something which is a critical part of your confidence, right? For building that, I'm twisting the answer. I'm saying that building confidence means building fluency. So yes, for doing that, you may watch English news channels. Of course, I know that English news channels are no one's favorite. Huh? You watch English news channels, you read good novels, and the best way is that you read autobiographies of business people. And these are the things which will improve your vocab and which will eventually increase your confidence, right? So, as we say, reading maketh a man. So yes, reading is something which can obviously improve your confidence.
May I add something to it?
Yeah, because I was just about to add there's a complete module of personality development courses with Dr. Purva. There are 13 parts of that. So you will be undertaking that also. Yeah, Dr. Purva, you can talk about that 13 module PD sessions.
Yes, so we have just started with the CV writing, and very soon we'll be starting with this particular course also, where personalized one-to-one attention will be given to every student. And the idea is to make them practice so much that it looks more like a rehearsed spontaneity. Because even we, when we appear for interview or when we meet people, we actually have a preparation done. What kind of questions that are going to be put up, and till now, I think before giving any speech, I still prefer to rehearse once in front of a mirror. So there are many tips and tricks that we will teach you how to take difficult questions, how to, if you don't know the answer, how to, handle such questions. So we will be doing that training. All I can say is that you have to cooperate in terms of participating actively into that training, because it is for you. We are already right now placed, we are happily placed in working. You have to get yourself placed. So we are working hard for you. You have to attend the sessions and cooperate in this regard. So we have, sir, more. I hope you, sir, have time right now, because we have four more questions.
I have logged my room from inside.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So please unmute Ashish, and then Ayush, then Daksh, Khanna, and Harshit.
Ashish, you can unmute.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the team DME management for organizing this session. And thank you so much, sir, for taking out your time from your busy schedule. So my question is regarding, sir, as you mentioned that to generate the interest of the interviewer, we can also mention the subjects. But if we, sir, mention the subjects, each and every subject, won't it increase the length of the CV? Sir, I have heard that it should be
I
a little
agree. So the answer is that at least you can mention the important subjects. Okay.
Yeah.
I know there are in 6 semesters, 5, 6 or 30 subjects are there. So I fully agree with you that mentioning 30 subjects will be a clutter. So you can mention the important subjects there, right?
True, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Ayush, you can now speak.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, my question is basically a follow-up to what Ashish just asked. There are some workshops that we attend, like DME itself, our college also organized a few workshops, and we were attending this workshop on like market research and
Yes.
whatnot. So all of this, sir, again makes a cluster in the whole CV system. This should be about 1 or 2 pages. It goes up to 3 to 4. So what exactly should we add in these kind of workshops that we have attended? Like DME is one, and then other workshops that we are also attending.
So in finance, we call it rationing. Rationing means that if say I have attended 10 workshops, then I can find out which 4 or 5 are more important, which are more relevant, and which are more relevant for that particular interview. Say, for example, I have done 10 projects during my BBA, and say 2 of them were in an FMCG company, and the interview which I am facing today is by say Nestle. So in that interview, I need to mention my projects in the FMCG company. I may have done 2 in FMCG, 2 in automobile sector, 2 in pharma sector, but while I'm facing an interview, so this is what we call rationing. You have to ration it out. You have to see which is more relevant for a particular situation. I can tell you that generally people have, say, while applying for any interview, you should have a relook at your CV, and you should always edit your CV while applying for any particular vacancy, because any vacancy has got its own specifications. So accordingly, you please ration so that it's not a clutter. I agree that clutter should not be there. But I'm sure that, at your stage, say how many courses you may have completed by the time you complete your BBA? Maybe 5, 6. If it is more, it is good. And in that case, rationing is the answer. Relevance is the answer. Okay.
Now, Daksh, you can unmute yourself. You also have a question.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my question is, if we are making a resume, sir, what points we should keep in mind so that we can make the resume look unique apart from others?
Okay. as we were answering this question earlier also, what makes you stand apart? Okay, so let us put it like this. Say there are 5 colleges which are running BBAs, right? But I am sure not all those colleges are providing programs on Excel. Not all those colleges have good clubs like Oasis. So these are the things which will definitely make you stand apart while you will be applying for any vacancy. So, you know, if say 50 students are appearing for an Amazon interview, as I said, all 50 are BBAs, all 50 are BBAs with good percentage. Now, what will make you stand apart is a course which you have done. Say, for example, you have done a course on entrepreneurship. So that will make you stand apart. If you have done a certificate course on Excel, that will make you stand apart. If you have done a course on time management, that is something which will make you stand apart. So what we call them is the co-curricular activities, the extracurricular activities. These activities are something which make you stand apart, because everyone is in BBA, everyone has studied 30 subjects, everyone has got 70%. So these are the add-ons. Or in one word, I can say, whatever hands-on you have learned is something which will differentiate you from your classmates, from other BBAs, from other colleges. Hands-on experience is something which is going to differentiate you.
Sir, there is one more question by Harshit Tiwari, that what are the keywords one should be using in a resume and why we should be using those specific keywords only?
So what kind of keywords the student wants to mention?
Sometimes there are certain powerful words which put more impact on the interviewer, right? Rather than using the normal language, there are certain words that usually are said to be more important. So what would be those words?
Well, I would like to take help from Dr. Purva or Dr. Seema in answering this question. Yeah, the kind of keywords the student
Yes,
is
sir.
asking.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So keywords are basically the hook words which we are looking while
Right.
filtering. Sometimes the companies run a software or they have an in-house software and they receive 200, 500 applications. So they basically scan, because actually they humanly cannot read all the CVs. Even in LinkedIn, this also happens. Even in Naukri.com, Monster.com, job search engines, where they actually ask, like, for example, I can give an example that if I have to put keywords for me, I will start with digital marketing, entrepreneurship. These are the 4-5 things which everybody is hunting and looking for. So that will put my CV at the top 10 search. Take it as Google. If you are looking for something, what are you going to put there? So keywords, I will very, very sensibly choose top 5 keywords or 6 keywords. First 3 will be based on my enhanced skills, which obviously are apart from my educational qualifications, because that every 200 CV is having. And the next 3 keywords will be specialized areas which I have developed over, let's say, 10 years or 16 years. So 6 keywords will place my CV in the top 10 list, so that the HR person will download the first 10 CVs, interview those 10 people, and if one of the person fits, he doesn't need to go through another 190 CVs. So keywords, that's what puts my CV in the top 10 search area. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, I think the keyword of whatever you have said is take it like Google search.
Absolutely, because sometimes there is an avalanche of CVs and they just come in. If the package is high, the brand is good, the designation is good, we actually get, we do that. I do that, sir. I mean, when I have to filter the CV, I look at the subject line. So the subject line also should have the keyword, because that's what I'm using in my email filter to automatically subgroup it in certain criterias, job groups or whatever. So we find that the recruiter actually mentions that use the subject line, so that he or she can filter it accordingly. So that saves our time and puts you at a premium position to be called for interview. Do we have any more questions before
No,
we
ma'am.
wrap up?
We have answered all the questions. So,
So
Janvi,
over to
please take-
Janvi. Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma'am and sir. It was really an interesting and extremely useful session for all of us. We all are very grateful for the tips and advice provided by sir on building a powerful and an effective CV. Now, I would request Dr. Pooja Sharma, ma'am, TPO, DMS, to please give vote of thanks.
Thank you, Janvi. So, sir, in fact, it was a really enlightening session, and even I was taking notes because these things nobody tells, and we do not have any subject where we will study these things. These only experienced people can tell us because you yourself are taking hundreds of interviews, and even ma'am. So, this is actually a very important exercise from the students perspective also, and from the other people who have like even the faculty. And also I would like to mention today we have alumni also with us and students from DTC also, because they are at a point that now they are doing MBA. So each of the courses and each we all at various stages of our lives, we need to keep our CVs updated. So this is something that in fact nobody has told me. So over time I also developed my CV, seeing other CV, but this is something that this is a kind of a capsule which I can always come back and look at this recording and I can update my CV accordingly. So I'm really thankful to sir and also Purva ma'am, because she also put very important points and told a lot of important things which we all need to learn from. So thank you very much, sir and ma'am, for taking out the time to enlighten our students. So I think now we would be, ending the session, and we are very thankful, sir, for giving us your time. We know that you are very busy. So
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I, as a student, would also like to add that we were not aware of many things which sir has shared with us today. And we all will definitely use his advice while building our CV. So this brings us to the end of this session. It is requested to please fill the attendance come feedback form. You all will be given certificates based on the data filled in the form. So please fill carefully the form.
So students, before leaving this meeting, we are keeping this meeting open for another 5 minutes. Make sure I'll just post the link again so that you are not searching again and again the link. Please make sure you're writing your spellings, etc. correctly so that the certificate is not having any wrong information. So thank you all, and we look forward to now, because being the TPO now, I will be interacting with many of you directly for all the internship and placement opportunities. And now I will be looking whether your CVs are in accordance with what sir has guided, because we want a standardized format for all students, because this is something I have been receiving from recruiters also, that they struggle to find what are the important things what the students want to highlight, because students are not writing it properly. Now today sir has given a very good briefing to you what all should be included. So please make sure you are making this standardized CV with you, and as sir said, the kind of job which you are applying for, you always have to customize your CV, read the JD, what they are asking, then accordingly see that if you have done that, if the job is writing digital marketing and you have done anything relating to digital marketing, even if a course you have done or even in a workshop you have done, make sure you are mentioning that in your CV. You can remove other things. अगर आप marketing की job में finance को highlight करेंगे तो it is not making sense. Right? So you have to be very careful, customize your CV before sending to each and every internship and each and every placement opportunity in which you will be forwarding your CV. So thank you, Janvi, for anchoring the session. So I think I will keep the meeting open for a while so that we can make sure that everybody has filled the form. Those who have filled the form can leave the meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.